Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we are going to construct a spiral ramp for this parking garage that I'm working on for one of my Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 scenery packs. Okay, so hopefully what you learned today you can apply to whatever project that you're working on. Now some of you veterans probably know how to do this already, so you can move along, I guess, or you can see how I do it wrong. But anyway, we are going to. I'm working on this particular airport, and this airport has one of these. Okay, this is a concrete spiral ramp that leads up to each floor of the the parking garage. So the people drive in here, pay their toll, get their ticket, whatever, and then they enter the ramp from here, and then they spiral and they get off on the floor that they want. Okay, I am going to show you how to make one of these parts of the spiral ramp. Okay, a couple things to set up is I do have a reference image in the background, okay, for this particular parking garage and airport terminal. Okay, but what you need to do is you need to add, you need to turn on or enable some add-ons that come in Blender, and that is the extra object add-ons. All right, so what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to your edit, go to preferences, and bring this over here, and in your search box you're going to type in extra, and then you're going to get these two extra objects that show up. Go ahead and click the check mark and then close that box out, and it'll be enabled. You'll have those tools. Also, what I've done is I've added, there is an empty XY axis right here where my 3D cursor is, and then I move my 3D cursor to that empty, so it's in the middle of the spiral. Okay, so if we go to top-down view, okay, we see that it's roughly in the middle. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to start building the profile of the ramp. Okay, basically what the pavement is. All right, so I'm going to go into a front view or a face-on view of where that is. All right, and we're going to go to make sure I got things turned on. All right, we're going to go and we're going to add in mesh, we're going to add a single vertice. Okay, so add single vert, and you notice that we get a dot right here. All right, and it automatically puts you in edit mode. The only thing that you need to do is make sure that you're on vertice selection. All right, so let's select that. Now, measuring off the photo of the opening of the donut hole, so to speak, it was 40 feet wide. Okay, or the diameter of the inside radius was 40 feet. So what? Yeah, the diameter of it was 40. All right. So we're going to take this node, this vertice right here, and we're going to move it over 20 feet. All right. So we're going to move that in the X direction, and I'm going to the left, which is a negative. So negative 20. And you notice it puts my vertice right here. So if I kind of see right here, you'll notice that the vertice is on the inside edge, plus or minus. Okay, you can be as precise as you want to. Okay, so go back into the front. Now what we're going to do is we're going to build a profile of that ramp. All right, so I'm going to make sure that that vertice is selected, and we're going to extrude that vertice. Yeah, you can extrude a vertice. All right, so we're going to hit the E for extrude. Okay, so if I use my mouse to extrude, I can do it that way, but I want to be more precise, and we're going to extrude it in the X direction, and we're going to extrude it minus 20 feet. I mean, sorry. We're going to extrude it minus 30 feet because that road is, whoops. Let me try this again here. I'm getting ahead of myself. Got my vertices selected. Extrude. All right, so there's my rubber band. We're going to extrude it in the X direction minus 30 feet. All right, so now I have a vertice here, and I have a vertice 30 feet away from it. Now the thickness of that concrete is 2 feet thick. All right, we're going to extrude again in the Z direction, and we're going to go 2 feet. Okay, then we're going to go back. We're going to extrude this one back along the X 30 feet. Okay, so now I have a line that goes from here to here to here and then back. And then if you wanted to, you can just select these last two nodes and hit an F to connect those. So this is what we've built. We've built a wire mesh basically of the profile of the concrete. All right. Now what we're going to do is going to go back into top view, and we're going to come down, and we are going to make sure I got X-ray selection on, and we're going to select all the vertices so they're all selected. All right, and we're going to move this in the Y direction down to where the beginning of that ramp appears to be. Okay, so we're going to move it along here, come over here, and then I'm going to rotate this on the Z axis, or Z for those that aren't in the United States. Okay, so the ramp appears to be started in this position. All right, now I'm going to pause the video here for a second. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. I had to take care of something real quick. All right, so we created our profile, and we have that oriented to the position that we believe that it starts on the ramp. Okay, I'm not sure if it actually is straight or not because I can't get a good look at it. I don't know I doubt that it's straight because they usually don't make these architecturally where you have to curve into it. You just come up and then you turn and go up the ramp. So I believe that this is the position of the starting of that ramp. Okay, now here's where the fun begins. All right, so you are going to use a tool, or you're going to use a modifier that is going to revolve this around a particular center point. In this case, it's going to be the center. Okay, so basically you're going to apply a modifier to this profile and make it wrap around and do some other things. All right, so what you're going to do is you want to make sure that you go to the modifier tool and download open up the modifier tool and select the Screw Modifier. Okay, now the Screw Modifier allows you, let me turn off X-ray here. You'll notice that by default it has taken that profile and made a 360 degrees and closed in on itself. All right, so we're almost there. All right, but what we want to do is make it not close in on itself, but go up to our first level of our parking garage. All right, and this just happens to be 10 feet. All right, each floor is 10 feet above the next. Okay, something like that. Yeah. All right, if you'll notice in the Screw Modifier, you have how much rotation that you want to make that particular object rotate around. In this case, we're not going to go 360 degrees, we're going to go 180 degrees, because it goes 180 degrees up to that 10 feet, okay? And I know this is because I did some pre-measuring ahead of time, all right? So we're going to make it wrap around 180 degrees, but we also want it to go up at this point right here. We want this to be at 10 feet. Now, here's the thing, all right? Our entire thing is actually above the ground, all right? And I'm going to show you what I'm going to do next is, so what we're going to do is we're not going to do this modifier yet. So let's X this, all right? Go back to our profile. Everything's selected, and we're going to move that down on the Z-axis -2 feet, okay? So it's in the ground, it's underneath the ground, because the pavement isn't that thick. Well, it is that thick, but it's dug into the ground, all right? And then it comes up the ramp. So we want this top to be at our ground level in this case, all right? But the modifier tool is going to work the same. So let's go back over to modifier, select the screw modifier, get this weird stuff because it's interfering with the image. And we're going to make this 180 degrees. And then we're going to make our screw top go up 11 feet, all right? Now, if we look at it, and I'm going to go to my left view here and zoom in. Okay, this right here is the concrete for level 1. And if we bring that line straight across, you'll notice that it ends with the top vertice. All right, so I did a little measurement to make sure that it got ahead of time before I got it to fit. All right, so from this point, it's being measured from the center of this particular object, all right? So it's actually 11 feet from here, even though our top is right here. Now, I could have made the origin different and not had to worry about that first 11 feet, okay? So anyway, the math worked, all right? So we'll zoom back out here. All right, so the first part of the ramp, you have to do this. You can't make one single spiral going all the way to the top, and the reason is because the increments between this level here and this level here will not line up with each floor. It will line up with the bottom, and it will line up with the top if you used, like, this happens to be 50 feet tall. 50? 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 feet tall. If I put a screw distance of 50, let's do that real quick. You'll notice it just goes right on up to here in 180 degrees, all right? But this loops around, incrementally. So let's go back to the 11 feet. This will get us up to our first level. And you have to treat it as something separate, okay? So this is our first iteration of our model, all right? Now, the one thing that you'll notice by default, the screw modifier does this smoothing, all right? All you need to do is go to normals and turn off that smoothing, and you'll have concrete edges, basically. Now, if this is not enough smoothness for you and you want it to be a little bit tighter, you can go to the steps and increase the steps, all right? So let's see, let's put in 60, and it makes this even a little bit smoother, all right? So you can make this as the weed tolerance as tight as you want when you're constructing your curve, all right? So we're gonna keep it at 60, all right? And I like what I see there, and we are vertice 22 because I've done some other stuff previously. Now, I'm pretty comfortable that that sweep of the first part of the ramp is correct, all right? When I'm sure about that, all right, I'm going to get out of edit mode by hitting the tab key, and I'm going to apply that modifier. So now when I go back into the object edit mode, all right, I have all the vertices and edges and faces to work with, all right? Now, we're getting ready to start the second stage of this spiral. Now, this first part of the ramp only went 180 degrees to get up to the 10 feet, okay, because it started over on the opposite side, all right? Now, this next section is going to go up 360 degrees to get up to the next 10-foot level. Now, you don't have to worry about that 11 feet anymore because that was only on the first step. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to select the edges, and we are going to select these 4 edges right here at the end of our first section of our ramp, and we're going to copy those to a new object. So I'm going to hit Shift D, and then I'm going to hit Escape so I don't move it, and then I'm going to hit P and change that to a new selection. And then I'm going to get out of edit mode. Now I notice I have another vertice sitting here, all right? So it's calling it vertice 6, okay? All right, now this is a brand new object that we're going to apply a new screw modifier to, all right, to get us up to that next level, all right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into, I don't have to go to edit mode right now, all right? It's already selected, vertice 6 is already selected. Let's rename this so we can remember what it is. Ramp part 1. Ramp part 1. Okay? And we'll go to vertice 6, and we'll call this one ramp part 2. That way our naming conventions are correct. All right? So there's part 1. There's part 2 that we're getting ready to construct right now. All right, so with that object selected, which is a copy of these end edges, we're going to go back to the modifier, select the screw modifier, and see it automatically creates a 360 degree object already, right? Okay, starting from where we ended that last one. But we want it to step up 10 feet. So from this point, it goes around 360 degrees to our next level on our garage, all right? Now, remember, we're going to increase, let's go ahead and, since we did 60 increments on that first level, this would be double that. So this is going to be 120 for our smoothness, okay? And we're going to turn off the smooth shading, okay? So you get something that looks like this. So let's go to our not plan view, but our side view, and notice that here's the concrete for level 2, and that line comes straight across right here, and that's where that particular section ends, okay? So we have made a spiral road base that has gotten to 2 levels. So the first one was a half of a round, and then the second one was a full 360 up to the next 10 foot. So guess what we do? So we are going to, we're not in edit mode, so we come over here and we apply that. So now ramp part 2 is built. Then I'm going to go into edit mode for ramp part 2, and again I'm going to select these 4 edges, And I'm going to copy those with Shift D, hit escape so I don't move it, and then P to create a new selection part. All right. Get out of edit mode, and now I have part 201. We're going to rename that to part 3. Okay. And then we're going to go into our modifier and get that screw modifier again. And we are going to make that 360, and it's going to go up another 10 feet. And we want 120 segments on that. And we want to turn off smooth shading. So now we've gone up to the 3rd level. All right. Now, basically, I'm going to pause this real quick because all I'm going to do is I'm going to repeat this step 2 more times. So let me get that done and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've finished 2 more spirals. I did this one and then I just did this one. But I used the exact same technique, exactly the same as the first 2. All right, now remember to apply. Be out of edit mode for each step and make sure that you apply that screw modifier so you can get the edges that you want to select for the next step. Okay, so now let's go to this. Let's go to that front look again and see how they line up. So now my ramp comes up here, and then we spiral. So we reach the 1st level, which is here. We reach the 2nd level, which is here. We reach the 3rd level, which is here. And then the 4th here, and the 5th here. Now, you notice right here, this edge right here of each spiral is actually higher than the deck of the parking garage. Well, you're looking at the edge that's closer to you. You're not looking at the ending point of that spiral. The ending point for each segment is actually even with the floor or the deck of the garage. This should not concern you in this case because that's how it is in real life. Let's take a look at our photo, hopefully. If you'll notice, here's our spiral. And when we're over on this side, you notice we go up the spiral, and then over on the other side of the garage is where it ends even with the garage. But that spiral continues up around. And if you'll notice on the real garage, these ramps that lead to each floor is actually inclined a bit, okay? So our model is relatively accurate for what we're doing, okay? So we will, when we connect this to the actual garage, it's actually, at this point, it's going to go downhill because that ramp coming from the garage to the spiral, on one side of that ramp is going up and the other part is going down, okay? It's just the spiral doesn't flatten out right in this area here. It just keeps going up, all right? So anyway, that's, I know that might be confusing, but this is working correctly. Now, if we look at our reference image, okay, let me turn these off real quick. If we look at our reference image, you'll notice on this last ring, it goes up. This point right here is even with the floor, okay, even with the deck, all right? This point on our spiral is actually a little higher than the level of the deck. That's what I was talking about. So from this point to this point, this ramp coming across actually kind of slopes down this way, and then it slopes down this way. Okay, it's straight across on this side, but that goes up on this side on each floor. Okay, so that's what I was trying to explain. Now, if you'll notice, this ramp on the very top, the very last one, okay, here's where our segments are ending right here. This segment from here to here, all right, dead ends right here. All right, so let's go to Google Earth. I'll bring that over here. And you'll notice that that ramp dead ends right here. Okay, so we got to add this little section and dead end it somewhere around in this area here. Okay, so that's what we're going to do next. And that, my friends, is done the exact same way that we did our previous other parts. All right, so we're going to turn these all back on. Okay, and we're going to select our topmost piece. Remember, we have to go get these 4 edges right here. So go into edit mode, make sure on edge selection, and select this box here. Make sure you get those edges there. And we're going to Control D to copy those, escape so we don't move it, and hit P to create a new selection set. Get out of edit mode and select part, make this part number 6. Okay. And then we're going to use the Screw Modifier one more time. So let's come out here and hit the Screw Modifier. It wants to go all the way around by default, but it's not going to. We're not going to let it do that. All right. Now, this, let's see what 45 degrees looks like. Okay, so it doesn't quite wrap around enough. All right. So we can go 90 and see what that looks like. So it could be it goes another 90 degrees around. All right. Now, if you'll notice, I have no height attached to it. Now, that could be true. It on that very last level, it could be flat. All right, but most likely it's not flat. And the reason I know that it's probably not flat is on each one of these segments, when a car is coming in, there's a certain height of each one of these things that the car's driving on, right? If we made this flat, this distance from the road base to the ceiling in this particular spot is going to be way too short, okay? It's not going to be the same height as each level. Now, possibly that could be real life, but I doubt it, okay? It's probably going to be inclined a little bit going to that dead end, because if they ever built another floor to the garage, they can just continue this spiral up to that new level, all right? So what I'm thinking is it probably goes up a few feet in that position, in that distance. Let's see what 2 feet looks like. Okay. Now what I can do is I can go into each one of these and use the measure tool, and let's see what happens here. So let's select this one. All right, and let's get straight above that. Let's turn our snapping on, and let's do a measurement from this. Whoops. I want the measure tool. Where's my measure? There it is. I want to go from this node up to this node, and we are talking a little more than 8.5 feet. Okay. So if I zoom in here and I measure from this node up to this node, we're at 7.5 feet. Okay, and I had the incline of 2 feet, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to add one more foot to that incline. So select our last piece. Instead of 2 feet, we're going to make that 3 feet. So that makes the distance at this location on every floor exactly the same. All right. So that's where that particular ramp stops. All right. And then we make sure that we apply that last spiral. Okay. So there we go. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't want to do that. I goofed up. So we want to make sure, let's see, 90, how many segments is that going to be? Let's make that 24 segments. Okay. All right. And let's turn off our smoothing. There we go. Turn off our smoothie. All right. So there's the last section. So this ramp took part 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. Took 6 parts to make this go up individually to get even with each floor. Okay, now the only thing that I would do next is, if you'll notice that there is this wall or the rails that go up along the sides. Okay, that's done pretty darn easy as well. So what we're going to do is I'll show you how to do this on the on just one of them, okay? But you'll apply the same technique to each one of these levels, okay? So let's turn off 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and go down to the first level, all right? And let's go into edit mode. Whoops, let's select it first. Go into edit mode. Now you'll notice that you have all these polygons, right? What we're going to do is we're going to select all of these polygons that are on the top, and we're going to create a new part called deck, road deck or ramp deck. Okay, so make sure polygon selection tool is on, and select these polygons that are up on top. Okay, so there we have that. That's our road base. All right, and we are going to make that into its own part by hitting P, and road part 1, we're going to call this, we'll call it deck. Okay, D-E-C-K. Now let's go into the deck itself. Okay, now the one thing that we want to make sure before we do that is I want to look at the item and make sure that if your scale is not equal to 1, then you'll need to go select the object, apply, scale. Okay. Excuse me. All right, so let's go back into edit mode with the deck selected itself. Now what we're going to do is these railings that go around, they're 6 inches thick and they're 4 feet tall. All right, so we're going to create that going around, and then we're going to extrude our railing. Okay, so with the deck selected, select all the polygons of the deck. All right, we're editing the deck portion only. Okay, and then you're going to hit I. Now this is where you can inset a new face, right? And we're going to inset, in this particular case, 0.5 feet. Okay, and hit enter. So now we have, you'll see that we have 2 edge polygons. All right, but I want those separate than the deck because I don't want to affect the deck, plus it might have a different texture to it. All right, so with the polygons pre-selected on the inside face of the of the last operation we did. We're going to come up to selection and invert so only the edges are selected. Okay, now we don't want a wall here and we don't want a wall here, right? We just want our railing or our walls on the two outside edges. So I'm going to hit the shift and I'm going to unselect these two polygons here. Okay, and then I'm going to hit P to make a new object by selection and get out of edit mode. And you'll notice that we have a new object here, and we're going to call this, we're going to rename this from part 1 deck to part 1 railing. Okay? Now, one thing that you're going to see, most likely, is we're going to check the face orientation and notice that all those faces are red. That means that the normals are facing away from us. All right, we want the normals to face toward us, right? But I'm going to do that after my next operation. All right, so I'll show you here in a second. So let me turn off face orientation, and let's go into, make sure railing's selected, and go into edit mode. Okay, and select all those polygons. All right, now what we're going to do is, now if I hit extract and I hit 4, you'll notice that it went down. That's because the normals are flipped. All right, so since our normals are facing down, the positive Z or Z direction faces down. All right, so you can flip those prior, or just know that they're oriented down, right? Okay, so I'll hit escape to undo that, and I'm going to hit the E key again for extract. I'm going to go -4, and now they go up. You see how that works? So it's based on the direction that the normals are facing. All right, so either way, as long as you know that, you can flip those polygons so the normals are in the right orientation first and then do your extract, or you can do your extraction and then flip them. All right, let me show you that. Let me show you how that's done. All right, so we're still in edit mode, and I just hit enter to commit my extrusion, and then I'm going to turn on face orientation again. Face orientation, there we go. And notice that all those faces are red. All right, that means all the normals are facing each other. All right, so with all the polygons selected, now I'm not doing the deck. All right, we'll do the deck later. All right, I'm just concentrating on these walls that go around. All right, so with all of the polygons, okay, let me unselect them again. These are unselected. I hit A to select all the polygons for the rails, and then I'm going to hit Alt N, and I'm going to flip the normals, and they turn blue. So when you're in the face orientation view, blue is towards you, red is away from you. Okay, so now all those normals are pointing in the right direction. I would come back and basically do the same for the deck, and then same for all the faces in any other features that are facing away. Because when you apply a texture to these, you got to make sure that the normals are facing in their correct location, or they'll be transparent when you view them in a render. Okay? So that is basically how I constructed the spiral ramp for the garage. So let me turn these off and show you what my finished product, not a finished product, but close to finished product is I have this right here. Okay, so we're going to turn off face orientation, but now I have that spiral ramp constructed, Now the next part of this, the next part of working with this will be doing some editing and taking some faces of each level and make them match the floor. Now I'm not going to bore you with that right now. I'll show you when I'm done. All right. So we'll need to put a barrier across here, and then we'll need to break some of these barriers off so they can drive into each floor. So that would be the next step to do. The other step left for this spiral is to put column supports around the spiral ramp. Okay, so let's look at Google Earth and notice that we have columns that run all the way around. There's even one right here. Okay, but we have all these columns, support columns, holding up that structure, right? So that would just be a matter of making a column and making the origin of that column the center, or where we had our original center point, and then I can do an array of that column to come around 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, just doing apply an array modifier to that column to have two sets of columns going around, and that's what I'll do next. Okay, I won't bore you on the video because I'm pretty sure a lot of you already know how to do that. Okay, so anyway, a little lengthy video, but just in case you guys wanted to make a feature like this in one of your projects, maybe you're wondering how you do that. That's how I did it. All right. So hey, please, if you would, you know, I'm going to make the same pitch as everybody else does in their videos. Please subscribe if you feel inclined to. Make comments on the video. Comments really help. Share this with other people that may want to learn how to do this. I do have a Buy Me a Coffee account for my physical world, and I also have a Patreon page. If you are inclined to help support the work that I do for Flight Simulator 2020 and for my physical geography, physical science education videos. But I appreciate you watching this 42-minute video, and yeah, that's how you make a spiral ramp for a parking garage. Thanks for coming. We'll see you guys later.